So I have covered it occasionally over the years about organisations like International Rescue. I remember, and it must be about 10 years ago by and large. Thanks for that, Bella. Yeah, honestly, God bless her cotton socks. She snores all that wee bit louder when I'm talking. But hey, maybe that's soothing to her. Fair play to her. But anyway, so, and you could go into much more detail about people like David Miliband, but remember, he was a policy advisor to Tony Blair for like 7 years, yeah, and a position which he held until the 2001 election. He was given the nickname Brains, which is a fictional character from Thunderbirds, right? Now, Thunderbirds, well, anybody who's old enough to remember and trying to avoid any kind of issue with YouTube, a quick blast of
3, 2.
International Rescue, which was, well, the show was called Thunderbirds, but it was about this international rescue, and it was done or created by an individual called Jerry Anderson, who is a very interesting guy himself. But when you look at things like UFO, a force for good against aliens, blah, 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 keeping the world safe, very international, people from all different countries, blah, blah, blah. Space 1999, the absolute same, international bunch of people on a space station, on the moon, blah, blah, blah. And part of their job was to look after nuclear waste disposal on the moon surface, blah, blah, blah. And then at some stage, bad humans make mistake. Boom. The moon's out of orbit, and it's all about the ongoing battle to survive in a hostile space, going through, well, various, shall we say, experiences. The first series was interesting. And to be honest, I seem to remember at least one or two episodes that, as a child, probably, gave me, the odd bad dream, shall we say that? But on the whole, limited resources, blah, blah, blah. We've all got to get in this together. Collectivism on steroids. And so much of what Jerry Anderson did was very much about that. Yeah, it's a running theme. And of course, David Miliband goes on to work for International Rescue. And I mean, even if you were to type it in, International Rescue TV series. Now, I did it under Brave, and that's all I got, yeah? I tried TV series, it didn't get that much better. I went with DuckDuckGo on this occasion. Typed it in International Rescue TV, and of course some inference about Thunderbirds and all the rest of it. And what I'm saying is, people have been socially engineered for years to accept things that otherwise they might just question, yeah? And even when you look into International Rescue as an organisation, surprise, surprise, founded in 1933. Interesting history, of course, yeah. And even when you look at the story, David Miliband has been handed an annual pay packet of more than $1.25 million or £1 million by an aid charity heavily funded by the British taxpayer. Now, it's interesting what they go on to say about how much funding. So although it is cutting jobs and programmes after plunging into the red, you could argue it's been doing its job up until now and is no longer needed, and whoever's running and involved in the organisation is, capitalising on that aspect. Because where you see, when you look into the background of International Rescue, what they do, what they're about, what we work to do, it's about the movement of refugees, basically to, by and large, first world countries, and getting them to be, just flow like you wouldn't believe. I'm simplifying things, but I'm also careful, pardon me, to at least some extent, that you don't want people to get the wrong idea. But war, think about this: 40 war-affected countries. Why are they war-affected? Who was involved in that? How did that come about, etc.? Who stirred the pot in these countries, and what was repeatedly the outcome of that? Well, migrants. Seriously. I mean, if you were applying some common sense to this, wouldn't you be well pleased with yourself that you could get people to stay in the same country because you've resolved the situation? Call me old-fashioned here. Seriously. But let's carry on. So the ex-Labour Foreign Secretary's salary from the International Rescue Committee, given at least 33 million pound last year by the government. I mean, it's mockery on so many levels, it truly is, by the government to alleviate poverty and assist refugees. Think about this: to alleviate poverty and resist and assist refugees. Certainly not resist, that's for sure. But and it's 50 million bucks in the red, yeah. But he gets an increase and set in charge somebody who apparently worked for him. The tax data shows Mr. Miliband's pay soared $111,000 over the previous year, with a housing allowance of $50,000. He is promoted also as a wonderful conference speaker by booking agencies, with fees starting at £25,000. So in no small way is that all his income. In no small way. Which you do find historically is a bit of a running theme with various people who purport to be looking after our best interest, shall we say that? But the charity's second highest paid staff member, who was Chief Operating Officer Madeline Sadler, Mr. Miliband's former special advisor in government, who ran his botched leadership bid in 2010. He rewarded her. Remember, ran his botched leadership bid, but, her pay went up to well over $500,000. But why? Why would you reward failure? Now, people could say, it's taken out of context, Scott. It's probably just what the Daily Mail have said. But you could also say that maybe she was meant to botch his leadership bid, which then went on to a situation of where he had the option, his hands were not tied at the time, to take on head honcho position as the IRC, my apologies, IRC President and CEO David Miliband of the International Rescue Committee. Honestly, people are being played like levels beyond belief, and they've thought long about it, like decades and decades in advance. And yeah, you could say, actually, it's hundreds, thousands of years in advance. Whatever. The point is they have a history of things that work to bring about change and to get vast populations to accept things that I would argue are not in our best interests. And they make out like bandits masquerading as the righteous. And I'll repeat, maybe when they're $50 million in the red, they've done the bulk of what they've needed to do as an organisation, masquerading as the righteous. And as a net result, well, it's just a thought. Anyway, your thoughts, and I'll speak to you soon.